Oh boy, One Punch Man Season 2, the highly anticipated season return for One Punch Man. A lot of people right now are going wild left and right. There was a lot of controversy. Of course, if you've seen my video where I was just bugging out, seeing the trailer and saying what the heck happened. So there's opinions going to be spanning all across. But I got a lot to say, and I got some crazy theories that I think are legit regarding Genos and possibly everything surrounding the big mystery of what happened to his town and what's really going on with Genos. I also got a lot of stuff to say about the King engine, baby, and a very, very valuable message that I feel as though the King character introduces in this season, and just all around One Punch Man Season 2 Episode 1. Let's talk about it.
You never gonna fly, even if you try. You never gonna ride. Gotta keep your head up, even if you cry. That's just one more reason to try.
So if you've seen my video talking about the trailer, my reaction, then you know I was very, very disappointed with that trailer. I was like, what's going on here? We went from Madhouse greatness to JC Staff average. What? Because that trailer, you know, the animation was definitely a step down. But one thing that I appreciate and I'm glad that I can say regarding this episode is that content and everything surrounding it can of course make up for a decrease in quality in animation. Animation is great, fluid animation is amazing, and maybe we'll see better pieces of animation that is more thoroughly thought out, besides, even though technically the first episode should be the main priority, but maybe we'll see bigger pieces like that that'll have fluid animation, because this episode didn't have crazy incredible animation, but it still absolutely was One Punch Man. And that's something that is very important to note, is that a series, the sequel, yes, if it has production issues, it is a bummer. We want to see that 100% Madhouse, oh my god, how did they do that type of stuff all the time, but JC Staff handling the source material and adapting it, they still moved forward, and honestly episode 1 had me going like, yo, I miss One Punch Man so much. Between the comedy, which One Punch Man is one of the few anime that have succeeded in breaking the mold of, or shall I say, smashing through the stereotype, because a lot of the stereotypes that have faced anime and manga in general, in particular the comedy genre, is the comedy transition from, you know, Eastern, so to speak, you know, Japanese humor, or anything of that nature, a lot of the times might not translate well. In general, jokes from other cultures sometimes don't translate well when it comes to bringing it over. So, you know, One Punch Man has succeeded in that. We saw it with Season 1, and Season 2 continues. Season 2, at the very least, the comedy, you could say alone, was priceless, baby. Especially for anime and manga fans, with the King engine, the introduction of the 17th, well, technically he was introduced in Season 1 when we saw the lineup and he looked like he was ready for war, but Season 2 Episode 1 giving a full-on introduction to King and who he is and how strong the King engine really is. And I ain't gonna lie, bro, that was amazing, hilarious, and I want to kind of get a little bit personal, because I don't think anybody that's talking about this episode is going to go hear something that I took personally, and it kind of reminded me of myself. And if you've been following me, then you know what I'm talking about regarding just my path in life and, you know, following my dreams. I had a conversation similar to the conversation Saitama and King had, except it was a little bit different. Obviously, I'm not pretending to be a superhero and, you know, getting into the S ranks, but it was basically regarding my character and how I'm presented and how I, you know, carry myself in public and just the way I was coming across and presenting myself. And honestly, it's a very humbling conversation. So you could see that it's insane that in his introduction and at the same time getting into the character a bit more, we get all of this character development. It's crazy that we had some really interesting but enjoyable character development of King when he spoke with Saitama, seeing that all the way back in Season 1, which that's been a little bit of an ongoing thing with One Punch Man, how Saitama, from being a superhero, has inspired a lot of people. But we see that King, essentially, he grew, because it starts off with, he's a big freaking, you know, joke in a way. And I mean, don't get me wrong, spoiler alert, he's a hilarious character. You're going to have a lot of laughs with King, but honestly, he reminded me somewhat, to a certain degree, of how I used to feel. Because I think, honestly, there's a metaphor in all of it when it comes to King at the very least. And that's that sometimes you can have the look and be able to make people feel like, oh shit, that dude is the shit. But sometimes you'll feel scared about things in life. And I think one of the valuable lessons is, even though you look the part, you have to feel inside and overcome obstacles. And maybe you messed up at some given point and you kind of, went in the wrong direction, but you can always make a turnaround. And even though you're in the wrong direction, you could change things. And King being able to look at it and hear from Saitama's perspective, because Saitama, very simple guy. One of the humorous things about One Punch Man is, while Saitama doesn't understand the actual, story that's going on when it comes to, like, the battles and the big action pieces like Genos does, Genos doesn't understand, like, social concepts and stuff like that. So if Genos would have come into King, he probably would have just insulted him and said, "You're trash, get out of here." So the fact that Saitama found him, that's more heroic, if anything. Even though Saitama has the powers to, you see, he stops that bird in this episode with one hand. He has the powers to pretty much crush anybody. But what makes him really heroic is the fact that he has that moral principle of, like, yo, okay, you messed up. Why don't you work hard so that you can live up to your name? You lied, cool, but it's not the end of the road. And I think that that's a valuable message in general of, like, even though you made mistakes, you can keep going, and in fact you could change things around and eventually be able to live up to whatever expectations people may have of you. So very, very awesome stuff. That was my favorite part of the episode. The other stuff, honestly, is interesting with this episode in particular. A lot of people, they'll say, like, yo, Fornev, I know you love action and you probably just wanted action, but the action pieces, while it was cool and seeing Genos getting torn to pieces in his battle, I was really more into the comedy of this episode. I'm gonna be honest with you. Seeing Saitama and King all throughout that segment, that was the powerful stuff. The action pieces was just a cool bonus. Again, the animation was like, what the hell happened? Oh my god. But to be honest with you, I'm not gonna lie, in the midst of the episode, I really wasn't thinking about that. It wasn't poor to the point where, like, oh my god, it wasn't like I can't bear it, because once you're immersed in One Punch Man, the world and the characters and their awesome capabilities and all of that other stuff, the humor, you kind of just forget about stuff like that with this series at the very least. I can't speak for other ones. There are action series that when the animation gets bad, I'm like, yo, somebody strangle me out right now. What's going on here? But One Punch Man kind of just flew by all those problems with this first episode for me, because I was more so like, yo, I get what they're trying to do, but this was comedy based. And I mean, there was serious pieces like the end when we got the surprise of, in case you don't know who that is, he's been already shown in season 1. He was, I believe, the student. But Garo was shown at the end of the episode. So we have the serious pieces, and I really hope that if we do get some very big action pieces in this season, that again, the animation increases. But it was fine. Wasn't a deal breaker at all. In fact, it was okay. It just wasn't incredible like season 1 had with Madhouse. And honestly, it's fine, because everything else checked out. And that's one of the things that is very important, is that, yo, the art checked out for the most part. The humor, the comedy, the writing checked out. Saitama, Genos, everybody still feels like their actual character. So it's good. And now on to my big Genos theory, which maybe has been said before, to be honest with you. I don't really know. I don't know much about the One Punch Man fandom and what theories they've been cooking up, but I feel as though Genos' whole thing about his city and everybody he loves being destroyed by a cyborg, I think that that's all a false memory that this doctor has put into him, and he's kind of just trying to see if a robot can overcome hatred, because he said in this episode regarding Genos, like, man, he went through all this, he got a sensei, he's a hero, but still hasn't subtracted one bit of his hatred and anger. And I think, again, that kind of is hinting towards maybe it's all fabricated. Maybe it's a false memory inside of Genos' mind. Again, I don't know. Maybe it might have even been shown in the series, to be honest with you. It's been a while since I've watched One Punch Man, but that was something that immediately came to my mind when I saw that conversation. And I could be totally off. It could have been already said for that matter, but for me, that's 100% what I'm feeling and what I'm leaning towards. Again, maybe I'm just wrong. Maybe there's actually a very big villain, and I think there's already been some hints of, if I am wrong, who it could be. But yeah, at the very least, that's what I got. And that was also very interesting, that it's showing again the struggles from these different people. Genos continues to struggle, which it's funny that at the end of the day, this is really like in a perfect world where this isn't in the wrong manga, because let's not get it twisted, One Punch Man does it right, but in the wrong manga, Genos would be the main hero. And what I mean by in the wrong manga, in the typical manga, One Punch Man needs to be this way, but in the typical manga, Genos would be the hero, because it's funny that Saitama could stop any of these problems with the flick of a finger. Nothing has been thus far a challenge for Saitama. He's the One Punch Man, the Cape Baldy, you know what I mean? But Genos struggles to the freaking brim, and you saw in this episode he looked like the Terminator. Half his face was all messed up, and his arm and everything, and he continues to try and get stronger. So it's almost an inside joke at the same time, which I hope this studio doesn't lose that humor about it, of that Genos is pretty much what the main character would be, of like, you know, getting destroyed, having to get stronger, while Saitama just floats on by. This episode, we also got to see the return of Speed of Sound Sonic. That was freaking hype. I'm not gonna lie, I was really excited to see him kind of even adding into this overall arcing story, the whole premonition of the doomsday, whatever disaster that's supposed to happen. It was nice to incorporate Speed of Sound Sonic. Also seeing that the hero organization has some type of agenda at the very least, getting people off the street that have some credentials and trying to recruit them. So there's some issue there as well, which is starting the basis of the plot for season 2 of like, there's a problem. Why is the hero organization really diving in trying to get these people? Is it that, you know what I'm saying? So very interesting stuff, building the world there. And overall, again, it was good to see Speed of Sound Sonic. Only other thing I wanted to mention about this episode was we seeing Blizzard, which I forget, I want to say it's Fubuki, which, spoiler alert, her name is Fubuki. Not like you know Japanese like that, and if you do, I apologize, I guess. But yeah, I think her name is Fubuki, if I'm not mistaken. And her, as well as Speed of Sound Sonic, on their own separate time, but at the same time, are looking for Saitama. So Saitama has started to build a reputation. A lot of people are starting to get to know him. But it's funny that in reality, he's like the #1 times 10 hero. The rest of them is just like whatever. And honestly, you know, crazy theory right here that may have been said before, but maybe Blast really doesn't exist. Maybe Blast is based off the idea of when Saitama was an actual hero before he lost his hair, and maybe that's why, because of the inspiration, and whoever put Blast is actually controlling it. But in actuality, Blast was Saitama all along, and somebody is just kind of at this point pushing the agenda, but it was Saitama. Kind of curious what you guys think about this though, the controversial first episode, or episode 13 of One Punch Man with season 2. How did you feel about this first episode? What did you think about the decrease in animation quality? Did it affect your experience? Honestly, it didn't affect it at all. I'm man enough to admit that, even though I was very bummed and disappointed and over the trailer, I can say that episode 1 was very, very awesome, and I hope at the very least it continues the charm, and as well, of course, the story and world building that One Punch Man season 1 set forth. Episode 1, it was rough with the animation, but everything else killed it, and to be honest with you, you know, critic aside of just the animation, it was amazing. And I talked about the animation a lot in this one, but yeah, that's to say that even though the animation wasn't good, it still was a damn good, great freaking episode. Especially, it had that One Punch Man charm. And your overall thoughts and expectations for One Punch Man season 2, the remainder of it, there is so much to come. I remember reading the one version of this, like 3 years ago on like Christmas or something like that. A lot of crazy stuff. Of course, they changed things for the serialized version, so I'm excited to see the surprises and what they changed. And overall, One Punch Man hype train, baby. I can say that the animation ain't stopped this train much for me, because I freaking loved that first episode. But that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram. Hit the bell to get all notifications. Please hit that bell if you want to find out about my videos. People be saying they don't get them. They've been saying this for ages, and you'll get them if you get that double click to get all notifications. I'm just saying, YouTube got us out here wilding. And if you want to follow any of my other social media, links of course in the description below. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day, and remember the golden rule: anime and manga for life, boy. Bow. Have an awesome day. Can't forget the music though. Hold on, let me play you guys something real quick.